Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Classic Comics. So, with the economy in the crapper and companies laying off staff left and right, it's been a question in my mind for some time. When will comic book companies finally start to fall? Now, there have been signs and hints for a couple of years now, and even before that, really, with the dropping sales seeming to make it all but inevitable that comic book publishers would start to collapse at some point. And we may have finally reached that point. It actually began late last year when Aftershock Comics filed for bankruptcy. I did a video on that. I'll put a link to that in the corner. But really, I mean, who reads Aftershock? I mean, Aftershock, more like Afterthought. Am I right? And that came not long after Valiant Comics announced it was cutting its staff pretty much down to the bone and would only be publishing one title a month. Did a video on that too. And today, IDW, which, like most small publishers, has been on life support for a while now, has announced that they are laying off 39% of their staff. In other words, roughly 40%. And on top of that, they've decided to be delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. Early this year, IDW announced that they lost 2 million bucks last year. I did a video on that as well. So for a while now, some have been saying that the comics industry can't keep going on the way it has, publishing comics that are overpriced, of poor quality, with boring, padded storylines, lifeless art, packed with woke story tropes such as critical race theory, intersectional feminism, shout outs to socialism and Marxism. But as the saying goes, they persisted. And now, after years of gaslighting the comic book audience, after the record economy under Trump was tanked by the you know what, and after the government's PP money ran out, comic book publishers are finally tapping out and admitting they can't continue the way they have been. Not in words, mind you, so much as in their actions. To wit, this article by Comics Beat by Heidi McDonald, one of the quote unquote journalists who's been covering the comics industry and dismissing suggestions that the industry was really even in trouble. Although she's certainly not the only one. It'll be interesting to see how the Twitterati try to spin this as not a big deal. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this here. And even she herself, she writes it right here. Bloodbath at IDW. IDW goes dark on the New York Stock Exchange, lays off 39% of their staff. The comics contraction of 23 continued today as IDW announced it is being delisted from the New York Stock Exchange, making large changes in senior management and laying off 39% of its workforce as part of cost-cutting measures. The moves come after months of losses for the company in most business sectors, as reported in SEC filings. IDW stock opened at 82 cents but plunged to 47 cents as the announcement circulated. And yeah, let's talk about that stock, brother. So here we have IDW. So this is for the last 5 years. And back in 2018, it was what, to March 4th or May 4th, 2018. 43.98. So 44 bucks. And I mean, it's been pretty much steadily down. Now they had this sudden drop here in late 2018. I'm not sure what that was about. But it bounced back, but then you just got a slow, steady drop, and then early 2020, a little bit of a bounce back, but then the pandemic hits, and yeah, it's down to $4, $3, $2, a dollar, and now it's a penny stock. And as for those cost-cutting measures, let's talk about that for a minute. Recently, IDW Media Holdings investors called for the sale of IDW in an open letter. IDW's board of directors responded by stating that they will deregister the company's Class B common stock under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, delist the Class B common stock from the New York Stock Exchange, make changes in senior management, implement cost-cutting measures. And yeah, they're cutting costs, all right. So among the personnel changes, Davidi Jonas, the son of principal IDW owner Howard Jonas, is replacing Alan Grafman as CEO. CFO Brooke Feinstein is also out, and Amber Huerta has been promoted to COO. While the press release did not specifically mention other layoffs among the 39% of the workforce laid off, the Beat has learned that the entire marketing and PR staff and half of editorial have been let go, including publisher Marsham. I don't know how you say that. We are working to get names of remaining staff and information on the fate of imprints such as Top Shelf, as well as details on the editorial reorganization. And yeah, and they talk about the company a little bit over here. Yes, so IDW was founded in 1999 as the publishing division of ID and Design Works LLC, also formed in 1999. It is regularly recognized as the fifth largest comic book publisher in the US. It was formed in 1999 by a group of comic book managers and artists: Ted Adams, Robbie Robbins, Alex Garner, Chris Oprisco, who first met while working at Wildstorm. And when Jim Lee sold Wildstorm to DC, Lee turned that company's creative service department, previously run by Adams, over to the newly formed IDW. Early prominent titles included Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith's 30 Days of Night, which started a seven-figure bidding war between DreamWorks, MGM, and Senator International for a movie adaptation. They also created Winona Earp, Lock and Key, and the Dirk Gently TV series and comics, and also licensed the likes of Transformers, Doctor Who, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, though they lost a number of the licenses to other publishers. Yeah, that's what I mainly know them for, is they had a lot of licensed properties. IDW bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, however, in its entirety. They currently publish the Dungeons and Dragons series, Star Trek, Magic the Gathering, Sonic the Hedgehog, My Little Pony, a line of creator-owned comics show run by Scott Snyder, and acquired small press publisher Top Shelf Productions, which brought them the rights to graphic novels such as From Hell, Lost Girls, A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and March. In other words, everything that Alan Moore's done since he left DC. They also publish the industry-leading archive projects, the artist editions from senior editor Scott Dunbier, also a former Wildstorm executive. In the announcement, several reasons were given for what was described as going dark on publicly traded exchanges. Although the term referred to being delisted as a stock, it seems an apt metaphor for the entire organization. The board has elected to take these actions to preserve capital and put the company in the strongest position possible to unlock value from its assets, including its intellectual property and ability to generate new intellectual property, read the statement. It was noted that the requirements of complying with SEC regulations were a burden on the company. Removing them would help streamline operations and claw back resources for recovery and growth. The board determined that going dark is the best path for the company due to expected cost savings, reduction on pressure on limited resources, and the company's current inability to realize many of the benefits from continued listing and Exchange Act registration and reporting, said David Bro, lead independent director on IDW's board. Low trading values and volume has limited our Class B common stock's liquidity and made it untenable to effectively use our securities as transaction consideration, attract interest from institutional investors or market analysts, or provide meaningful incentive to our employees. At the same time, we continue to bear the direct and indirect expenses associated with the New York Stock Exchange listing and SEC reporting. So, in other words, they're so broke that, just being on the stock exchange, there are rules and regulations you have to work within, and there are fees I'm sure you have to pay. And they're so broke that even that's too expensive for them now. And also the stock is so worthless now, because companies, they can use their stock as collateral, they can use it to incentivize loans. And of course, they can use it to attract investors, but their stock's so worthless now that they're better off without it. The cuts are expected to lead to about 4.4 million in annual savings, with 0.9 million being paid out in severance. Last month's SEC filings reported a $335,000 loss for the publishing division in fiscal quarter 1 ended January 31st, down from a profit of $512,000 in 2022. Sales in the direct market were down 462,000, although book channel sales were up 734,000. They also reported a decline in revenue of 1.9 million in the games division, which released the Batman Adventures game in 2022. IDW Entertainment, and that's their movies and TV division, IDW Entertainment revenue declined from 4.3 million to nearly nothing due to the absence of Lock and Key, which was streaming on Netflix in 2022. If you were wondering why companies like their streaming revenue, that's your answer right there. With both divisions losing sales, parent IDW Media Holdings sales were down 44% from 11.8 million in quarter 1 2022 to 6.6 million in fiscal quarter 1 2023. The company lost 2 million in the quarter compared to a 2 million profit in the quarter a year ago. The loss of the quarter follows an improving loss of 700,000 in the fiscal year ended October 31st. CFO Brooke Feinstein told analysts in the conference call that the company had enough cash to sustain operations for at least the next year. Given the hemorrhaging of profits, lack of a streaming follow-up to Lock and Key, and softening of periodical sales in the direct market, it seemed inevitable that IDW would tighten up, but this level of extreme reorganization is still stunning. We appreciate Alan's industry experience and efforts on IDW's behalf during the last 8 months as CEO, and for over 3 years prior to that as a member of the board and chairman of the audit committee, added Howard Jonas, IDW's chairman. As for Davidi, he gave a long statement reflecting why such changes were made with alacrity. I am humbled by the confidence being placed in me by the IDW board in appointing me to this position at such a pivotal time in the company's existence. I feel an overwhelming sense of excitement and more than a little trepidation as I face the challenges before us. Our board is taking a bold action to address the challenges facing the company, and I share their view that alacrity is called for. My trepidation comes from the magnitude of the task ahead and my determination to do everything possible to unlock and create value for our stockholders. Many of our stockholders, not the least of them members of my family, have shown patience and loyalty, and it is my singular goal to see that rewarded. Since rejoining the company as executive chairman, I've taken a deep dive into the company. I have strong views on what is needed to put the company's best foot forward on the path of success. The painful cuts we are making are unfortunately absolutely necessary. We need to ensure that the company can survive and then grow. I want to thank Alan, Brooke, and the great employees and other contributors to IDW's past successes. Today we hit reset. Today I take on the responsibility to those for whom I work and those whom I work with, the stockholders and my colleagues at IDW. I will work tirelessly to unlock value. IDW is a great company with a storied history. IDW has a great team of people who are ready to give their all, and again, I am humbled to be at their head, concluded Davidi Jonas. Translation, yeah, me and my dad, we ran this company into the ground, so get ready to be worked like plow horses because we're going to work you to death in order to make this company profitable again, and if it doesn't work, we'll fire you. Obviously, this is a rapidly developing story. We'll be updating it as more information comes available. So, yeah, it's been a while coming, but they can't hide any longer. DC and Marvel, they'll be all right. They may fire some people, but they're both owned by huge corporations. And the financial losses that DC and Marvel incur equate to little more than a rounding error for Disney or Warner Brothers Discovery. But other smaller publishers like Valiant, Dark Horse, etc., they're probably screwed. I'm not sure about Image. They'll probably survive, but there's probably going to be some lean times coming for them. And really, so much of this could have been avoided. Who would have guessed that it could have come to this, really? I mean, oh yeah, everybody, pretty much. Anyway, let me know what you think of this development in the comments. Are you surprised IDW is circling the drain? Are you glad IDW is circling the drain? Are you disappointed? While you're at it, please sub to the channel and hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.